There have been little to no rappers that have fallen as fast and unexpected as Ja Rule. Between the years of 1998 to 2004, Ja Rule released 6 top 10 albums, 17 Billboard hits, and has earned 4 Grammy nominations. He had become so popular and respected in the industry that he was being featured on tracks with Jay-Z and DMX, while also going on tour alongside hip-hop legends like Redman and Method Man. But just as fast as he rose to success, his downfall would arrive soon after, due to one man from the same borough as him who would cause Ja to throw it all away due to one big mistake. In the early 2000s, Ja Rule was becoming the biggest artist in hip-hop. With multiple Billboard hits and Grammy nominations, Ja Rule was on top of the hip-hop world. But while he was at the top, there would be another up-and-coming rapper named 50 Cent. And with both of these artists coming from the same borough, they would start to have a little animosity towards each other. To this day, no one even knows how the beef between 50 and Ja Rule even started, because both of them have different stories. Ja said it was because back in 1999, he didn't include 50 in a music video for a song. However, in 2005, 50 wrote in his book that the beef actually started because an acquaintance of his stole Ja Rule's chain. The story goes that someone who was affiliated with 50 Cent was sent by him to rob Ja Rule and take his chain. But Ja himself says that 50 twisted the whole story around. The truth was, Ja Rule was actually robbed by one of his old friends named Tony, who had just come out of jail. He confronted Ja about sleeping with his girlfriend while he was in jail, and then later proceeded to take his chain.
So now I'm shocked. So he goes to the burn on me. He's like, yo, you holding, you strapped? I'm like, nah, I ain't got nothing on me right now. He pat me, whatever. So he's like, yo, you was fucking my girl while I was up north. Just that and third. And I'm like, nigga, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I wasn't fucking your girl. You know what I'm saying?
Ja Rule would later say that 50 had nothing to do with this robbery.
And so 50 used that as his end to have something to say about me. You feel what I'm saying? But it had nothing to do with him. Like, I didn't even know you know this dude.
A few of Ja Rule's associates from his former label have said that it started because 50 was mad about his success. How this beef actually started, who knows? But eventually, some time would pass, and 50 would release his diss track on Ja Rule, and this is where the beef would really start. 50 would release his diss track, Your Life's on the Line, and this diss track would then stem to an actual physical altercation. The most famous was their fight at a nightclub in Atlanta, where they were both scheduled to perform. According to Ja Rule's book, he says that the altercation first started with 50 swinging on him first. He dodged it, then proceeded to beat 50 with a toy bat. The fight allegedly ended with Ja Rule slamming a speaker over 50's head while he was chasing him into an elevator. But since 50 was such a big power force in the hip-hop industry at the time, with more street cred than Ja, no one really batted an eye, and the story really went nowhere. In 2004, Ja Rule would release his album, Rule. The album debuted at number 7 on the Billboard Top 200 chart and went gold. But despite its commercial success, the album received negative reviews due to the fact of him changing from his pop rap style that made him popular in the first place to a more gangster rap persona, which people weren't used to. This would be a terrible decision for Ja, as this was the last album he would release to have any success. Some people assume that 50 Cent had some part in ending Ja Rule's career, causing him to get distracted and steer away off the path that was making him successful. And with him releasing his last album, Exodus, the next year, which would peak at number 107 on the Billboard chart, it was clear that he wasn't reaching the heights he once did. And soon after this, went on a music hiatus. 7 years later, in 2011, Ja would be arrested for gun possession and tax evasion, but it seemed like no one really cared. After being released from prison in 2013, Ja would have an attempt at a comeback, collaborating with artists like Noreaga, Lil Wayne, and Birdman, but that never really took off. In 2014, Ja Rule would publish his memoir, and later in 2015, he would star in a reality show with his family on MTV called Follow the Rules. Ja Rule is far removed from his days as the top artist in hip-hop, all because he tried to keep up with 50 Cent. Nowadays, it isn't really certain what Ja Rule is doing, but he did go on an interview in June of last year and was asked if he had any plans of releasing music. He said that right now it's coming up due time for him to drop music. And when he was asked to expand, he just said, get ready. In the late 2000s, there was once a rapper who had high expectations to be one of the greatest artists to ever rap over a beat. Named the new Rakim, Nas, and Jay-Z all in one, Jay Electronica has arguably been the most elusive figure in hip-hop history. He would be neck and neck with Jay-Z in terms of lyricism, and even had some talk of being the greatest rapper out of New Orleans, beating out Lil Wayne. But mysteriously, his image and music likeness just faded away into nothing. So, what happened? After being in the underground scene for many years, in 2007, Jay Electronica released his debut mixtape on MySpace, Act 1 Eternal Sunshine. The mixtape would be just one singular 15-minute song that was cut into different parts, using the internal mic of a laptop. 2 years later, in 2009, after releasing his mixtape, he dropped 2 singles, Exhibit A and Exhibit C, with Exhibit C getting the most praise for how lyrically amazing it was. These 2 singles would then catch the attention of Jay-Z, who would then sign Electronica to his label, Roc Nation, the next year. This deal only really happened after Jay-Z and Diddy had been in a heated bidding war for the right to add him to their team. In 2010, Electronica finally released his first single under Roc Nation, Shiny Suit Theory, featuring Jay-Z and The Dream. However, this song is only mostly known for Jay-Z's verse, which is considered one of his best verses of all time. But after releasing this single, things would start to grow quite silent for Jay Electronica in terms of his music output. Although Shiny Suit Theory had been received positively by fans and critics, this would be the last record Jay Electronica would release for a decade, only appearing in features on songs from Big Sean, Kendrick Lamar, and Chance the Rapper. Jay would tease fans with release dates and track lists for his debut album, but they would amount to nothing. For the entire 2010s, fans tried their best to find any details of Jay Electronica's next project, but to no avail. Rumors had started to emerge, with some being that he was done with rap, he had a falling out with Jay-Z and was dropped by his label, or he had major writer's block. But lo and behold, in March of 2020, Jay Electronica would finally release his debut album, A Written Testimony. Some fans had minor disappointment, since it wasn't a solo album, but rather a collab album with Jay-Z.
And to top it all off, Jay-Z's basically on the whole damn thing, which just on a basic level seems like an obviously bad move no matter how good Jay-Z's appearances on here are. Like, people have been waiting over a decade to hear you put out this album, not for you to just hand half of it over to Jay-Z.
Nonetheless, fans didn't really care, since they finally got new music after around a decade of absence. After releasing A Written Testimony, his long-awaited project, Act 2, leaked online. And because of all the positive feedback it got, he officially released it on streaming services. After this, Jay Electronica would not release any other music, only featuring on tracks from Kanye West, Westside Gunn, and Russ, while also releasing one of his old mixtapes on streaming platforms, now leaving fans wondering if they would have to wait a decade for another album. Going from having the first ever hip-hop single to go #1 to now working as a salesman for a light fixtures company has to be one of the most interesting fall-offs ever. Vanilla Ice is mostly known for his hit song Ice Ice Baby, which sold over 15 million copies in 1990. Many thought Vanilla was destined for a promising career due to such a great start, but little did everyone know this was just the beginning of one of the greatest fall-offs in hip-hop history. In 1990, Vanilla Ice released Ice Ice Baby as the B-side to his cover of Play That Funky Music. The song would immediately take off, selling 1 million copies a day, and would eventually go platinum in 3 different countries and gold in 4 others. As Ice Ice Baby became popular, so did Vanilla Ice. He started to grow a massive fan base seemingly overnight, and would sell out shows all across the country. Everyone was excited to see what Vanilla Ice would follow up with next, but that was where the problem was. Vanilla Ice would release his second album, Extremely Live, selling only 550,000 copies, which was very underwhelming compared to his previous album sales, being over 8 million copies. This would be the beginning of a downward spiral for Vanilla Ice's music career, since he never caught on to the momentum he previously had with Ice Ice Baby. As time would pass on, Vanilla Ice never seemed to capture the magic of his first hit, and eventually, his name became less and less heard in the industry, and soon enough, he was forgotten about. Because of this, Vanilla Ice would unfortunately start to suffer from depression, and would later on become to get involved in drugs. Vanilla Ice eventually made a brief return to the entertainment business to star on reality TV shows such as The Surreal Life, Vanilla Ice Goes Amish, and The Vanilla Ice Project. He also acted in films such as That's My Boy, The Ridiculous Six, and Sandy Wexler, alongside actor Adam Sandler. In 2016, Vanilla Ice also made an appearance in Dancing with the Stars. However, despite a few cameos, Vanilla Ice has stayed mostly quiet since that time. These days, Vanilla Ice is using his famous face and entertainment skills to sell light fixtures for Capital Lighting. It seems that Ice has decided to live a more humble lifestyle than his past. Although he's never recaptured the fame he saw in the early 90s, the rapper still continues to make music and tour for his fans. However, he lives a much different lifestyle than he did during his glory days. Chance the Rapper was once seen as one of the biggest artists in the hip-hop industry, and at some point would even threaten Drake's throne at the top of the musical mountain. He won multiple Grammys as an independent artist and had many record labels and streaming platforms offering major deals to sign with them. His two mixtapes, Acid Rap and Coloring Book, were even received as some of the greatest projects of the 2010s. But nowadays, everyone has forgotten about Chance, and more so, doesn't even really care about him. So how can someone go from being the most positive and loved rapper in the world and being looked at as a role model to getting hate for music he hasn't even released yet? Chance would start rapping back when he was in high school, and around 2012, he would release his first big mixtape, 10 Day, and immediately started to blow up in his hometown of Chicago. Chance would then use this ongoing momentum to release his next mixtape, Acid Rap, in 2012, which peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 charts. The mixtape will also go on to get over 50,000 downloads on DatPiff in the same day. Chance would start to catch the attention of many record labels, but decided to stay independent. 3 years following the success of Acid Rap, in 2016, Chance released maybe his best project to date, Coloring Book, which peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Top 200 chart and elevated him to the top of the hip-hop world. At this point, Chance was now the most loved artist in the industry, but after Coloring Book, things would start to change. It all started when Chance debuted his single, First World Problems, on a late-night TV show. Many hip-hop analysts didn't really like this song because it was received as being too positive.
Enough for adults. Enough of the Apollo shit where you go out there and you sing about Jesus and we can't boo you because you're singing about Jesus. This nigga's, he getting real close to teetering the Apollo rap line. What the fuck is he talking about? It's too positive.
And soon enough, fans would also start to feel the same way. But despite the negative reactions, fans were still excited to hear his debut album. And after nearly a decade, in 2019, Chance would finally release his debut album, The Big Day. And to say it was just a bad album would be doing it justice, because the premise of the whole album was basically him saying how much he loves his wife. Although the album will debut at number 2 on the Billboard charts, this album was far from successful. And not too long after, fans would then turn the album into a meme on social media. After this, Chance would then fall into a deep depressive state and would share his feelings on Twitter. If Chance didn't get the memo yet that he had fallen off, he would soon get the memo. Because right after dropping his album, Chance announced a 35-day tour to promote his debut album. But after just 5 days, the tour was cancelled. And when it was said that he was now offering 2-for-1 deals, it started to be pretty clear what was going on. Usually, when artists start to offer 2-for-1 ticket deals for their shows, this means that it didn't sell well, and they would offer this deal to try and make up for it. The fact that people loved Chance at first for being the positive, happy-go-lucky rapper, but started to write him off because he continued with it, just goes to show the state of the hip-hop industry today. Before Vic Mensa became known as one of the most hated rappers in the industry today, he was actually on the rise to becoming a top rapper in the industry, getting features on songs from Kanye and getting co-signs from Jay-Z. But due to his political actions and unwarranted disses on other rappers can be the reason for his fall off. In 2009, Vic Mensa's career started to gain some success after starting his band, Kids These Days. The band would start to gain success at a rapid rate, and in just 2 years, they started to perform at festivals like South by Southwest and Lollapalooza. But unfortunately, in 2013, the band would break up due to internal differences and everybody wanted to do their own thing. Then in 2013, Mensa announced that he was going on tour with J. Cole and Wale. And on this tour, he would release his debut solo mixtape, Enanante, with XXL naming it the 8th best project of that year. And just going to show how much Mensa was blowing up, in 2014, he will be named an XXL freshman with fellow rappers like Lil Durk, Kevin Gates, and Ty Dolla $ign, just to name a few. The following year, in 2015, he was featured in a song with Kanye West, and in 2016, will be placed on Kanye's Life of Pablo album. Then, later that year, he would sign with the Jay-Z's label, Roc Nation. Things were starting to look good for Mensa, but unfortunately, he will begin to let his sudden rise to success get to him, because Vic would start to get into multiple legal situations. One being his airport mishap, where he was arrested for arguing with airport authorities over them disrespecting a woman. He was also arrested again when he was stopped by police for driving past a stop sign. And when they searched his car, they found a pistol that was not registered in the state of California. By the time 2017 had rolled around, Vic Mensa had seemed to calm down with his problems with the law, and instead turned to unwarranted disses to other rappers. This first would be seen when he was at a show in Cincinnati and for no reason at all, robbed a bar dissing Lil Yachty.
Make my name a name brand. French kissing French bitches, dubbing like a caveman. Then I signed to the Rock, now they say I'm Illuminati. Bitch, I'm a tsunami, what the fuck is a Lil Yachty? No blood diamonds, I rock gold like a king, Jerry so cold.
Vic Mensa and Lil Yachty had no prior beef before this. They didn't even meet each other yet at this point, so this was kind of confusing. Vic would also find himself on the Everyday Struggle podcast, where he met with DJ Akademiks. A little backstory before this. DJ Akademiks made a channel called The War in Chiraq, where he spoke about the various deaths and shootings that were happening in Chicago, the same city Vic was from. Akademiks would get a lot of flack for this because people from the city weren't too fond of him talking about the negative situations that they went through and him turning it into a joke. So when Mensa finally met Akademiks in real life, this was what he had to say.
I wanted to slap you in your face, honestly. And I'm just seeing you here, so I'm like, this is a tame environment, so I would keep it to my words, but I really felt as if people exactly like you sensationalized and made a following off of clowning situations that we go through in real life. And
Due to all of these situations, people will begin to start to dislike Mensa. But one more thing would happen before it all crashed down. Back at the 2018 BET Awards, XXXTentacion had won the award for Best New Artist, but due to him passing away, his mother had accepted the award on his behalf. Vic would be set to perform at the show, but little to everyone's surprise, he would say something that shocked the whole internet.
Bare arms is in the wife beater. Loser, your favorite rapper's a domestic abuser. Hey, name a single Vic Mensa song. We all know you won't live that long.
If you didn't know, X would be accused of domestic violence after his girlfriend had came out saying that he beat her. After receiving major backlash on the internet for his performance, Vic would come up with an apology video, but it wouldn't be like everyone expected.
recently I did a freestyle for the BET Awards Cypher addressing and condemning rappers who unabashedly abuse women and those who stand up for them and even call them legends. I stand behind those statements. It was pre-recorded weeks ago, and I had no idea a grieving mother would be in the audience to honor her lost son. I never intended to disrespect her, and I offer my deepest condolences for her loss at the hands of gun violence. However, I vehemently reject the trend in hip-hop of championing abusers, and I will not hold my tongue about it. I don't give a fuck about getting attention. I care about bringing awareness and holding people accountable for their actions.
After this, the entire hip-hop world had turned against Vic Mensa, and no one seemed to care for him anymore.